This story is called, "My Wife Said I Wasn't Her Real Match, Just a Co-Parent. So I Treated Her That Way, Indifferent, Unavailable. And by the time she noticed, it was already too late." Hey Reddit. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. I never thought I'd actually post something like this, but I've been lurking here for a while. I figured maybe my experience could help someone else going through the same kind of mess. I'm 36M. I met my wife, Sarah, 34F, during our sophomore year of college. She was a psychology major, smart, passionate, and honestly kind of intense. She had strong opinions about everything, breaking gender norms, dismantling the patriarchy, all of that. I was the opposite. Business major, practical, working 2 jobs just to get through school without debt. Somehow it worked. We clicked. I was drawn to her passion, and she seemed to like the stability I brought. We dated all through college, moved in together after graduating, and got married at 27. By 29 we had twins, a boy and a girl, Ethan and Emma. After college I got a job at a financial firm. I worked like crazy, long hours, late nights, weekends, whatever it took. Eventually I made senior portfolio manager. The money was good, but the job was exhausting. Meanwhile, Sarah kept switching paths. She started in HR, then moved to marketing, then quit to become a freelance writer focused on women's issues. That last one never really made any money, but she insisted it was her passion, and that I should support her dreams. Her blog became her whole identity. It was all about empowering women, breaking societal expectations, and calling out toxic relationships. Yeah, the irony will make sense in a minute. While I was building a career and supporting our family, she spent her time at networking events, women's circles, and working on a blog that maybe 50 people read. And honestly, looking back, I was doing most of the parenting too. Getting up with the kids, making breakfast, helping with homework, going to school events. Not because I'm some amazing dad, but because someone had to do it. And she was always busy finding herself. So that's where we were when everything finally blew up. Me working 50 to 60 hours a week, still handling most of the parenting. Her building her brand, and telling me I wasn't emotionally available enough. It happened on a completely normal Tuesday. Nothing special. Just another long day. I just finished a 12-hour shift, put the kids to bed, helped Ethan with his science project, and read Emma her favorite story. I was exhausted, but I thought maybe we could watch something together. One of the few things we still did as a couple. I went downstairs and found Sarah in the kitchen, rinsing a plate, and then she just said it. Out of nowhere. "You're nothing more than a co-parent to me, Tom. Not my real match." It hit like a punch to the gut. You know that feeling when all the air leaves your body at once? Yeah, worse than that. Her voice was completely calm. Like she was commenting on something trivial, like we needed more dish soap. Not like she'd just torn apart a 10-year marriage with one sentence. I just stood there, staring at her back like an idiot. She didn't even turn around. Just kept washing that plate like nothing had happened. "So that's how you see me?" I finally managed to say. My voice didn't even sound like mine. She shrugged. Actually shrugged. "I think we both know this hasn't been a real marriage for a long time," she said. "You don't challenge me intellectually. You don't really understand what I need as a woman in today's world." Honestly, the worst part wasn't even what she said. It was how she said it. No emotion. No hesitation. No regret. Like I was just some random guy she happened to have kids with. Not the man who spent the last decade supporting her through 3 career changes. Not the one who paid for her finding herself retreats. Not the one who kept everything running while she built a blog that never made a single dollar. "I want a partner who matches my energy and understands my journey," she went on, finally turning to look at me. "Someone who challenges me and appreciates my growth. I've evolved so much these past few years. And you're still the same. The same." I had gone from entry-level analyst to senior portfolio manager. I had learned how to be a father. I had supported her through every phase, every idea, every dream. But apparently, that didn't count as growth. "I'm not saying we need to end things," she added when she saw my face. "The kids need stability. We can still co-parent effectively. I just think we should be honest about what this relationship really is. She said it like she was doing me a favor. Like her honesty was some kind of gift I should appreciate. Like telling me I was nothing more than a glorified babysitter and ATM was somehow kindness. I didn't explode, didn't cry, didn't beg. I just nodded and said, "I see." Then I walked out of the kitchen. I heard her call after me, "Tom, aren't we going to talk about this?" But what was there to talk about? She had made her position completely clear. That night I couldn't sleep for shit. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying the last few years over and over in my head. When did it happen? When did I become nothing to her? The signs had been there the whole time. I was just too stupid or too busy or too deep in denial to see them. The way she used to light up when I walked into a room? Gone. Those random texts during the day, stupid jokes, songs that reminded her of me? Gone. The little touches. The real kisses, not just those automatic pecks on the cheek? All gone. When was the last time she actually asked about my day and really listened? Not just the empty, "How was work?" people say out of habit, but genuinely cared? When was the last time she went out of her way to do something nice for me? When was the last time she defended me when her friends started talking shit about their husbands? Lumping me in with them, I started thinking about how often she was on her phone when I was around. Always scrolling Instagram. Always sharing posts about outgrowing people and having the courage to be authentic. Always tagging things with stuff like #KnowYourWorth and #NeverStopGrowing. Meanwhile, I was the one getting up in the middle of the night when the kids had nightmares, making their lunches, taking them to soccer practice, helping with math homework, all while working 50+ hours a week. Her smiles, her real excitement, her energy, it wasn't gone. It just wasn't for me anymore. She saved that for other people. Her progressive friends who constantly told her she deserved more. Her life coach who charged $200 an hour to tell her she was settling. The women in her online communities who validated every selfish thought she had. Everyone except me. I had been telling myself she was just stressed, tired, busy, making excuses because I didn't want to face the truth. But now I couldn't ignore it anymore. She didn't fall out of love overnight. She'd been showing me for years that I was nothing more than a convenience to her. I just didn't want to see it. The worst realization hit me around 3 a.m. I had spent years trying to make her happy, working harder, doing more, supporting every dream she had, while she kept moving the goalposts and finding new ways I wasn't enough. No matter what I did, it would never be enough, because she had already decided I wasn't enough. It wasn't about my actions. It was about how she saw me, and that's when something in me just stopped. I was done trying. The next morning, I got up before her like always, made breakfast for Emma and Ethan, packed their lunches, did all the usual dad stuff. When Sarah came downstairs in the silk robe I'd bought her for our anniversary, I didn't say anything, didn't ask how she slept, didn't comment on the weather. Nothing. She noticed. I could see her glancing at me, like she was waiting for something. She probably thought I'd start begging, or apologizing, or promising to do better. Maybe she expected me to say I'd try harder to challenge her intellectually, or be more involved in her journey. But I was done. If she saw me as nothing more than a co-parent, then fine. That's exactly what I'd be. Nothing more, nothing less. "You're quiet this morning," she finally said, trying to sound casual. I shrugged. Got a lot on my mind. Work stuff. "Do you want to talk about what I said last night?" she asked, leaning against the counter with her coffee. "I think it's important we're on the same page." "We are on the same page," I said, not looking up while making Ethan's sandwich. "You were very clear. Tom, I wasn't trying to hurt you," she said, slipping into that condescending tone she used when she thought she was being emotionally intelligent. "I was just being honest about where I am right now." "I appreciate the honesty," I replied flatly. Now we both know where we stand. I could tell she was thrown off by my reaction. She had expected tears, or anger, or maybe some desperate promises to become the man she wanted. Instead, I just accepted it calmly, and that completely messed with whatever script she had in her head. I dropped the kids off at school and went about my day with a different mindset. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was just the father of her kids. That's it. No more doing her favors. No more sitting there while she went on and on about how exhausting her day was, whether that meant rearranging the living room furniture or writing another post for her blog. That night, she came home from one of her women's empowerment meetings, which I later realized was basically just her and her friends complaining about their husbands. I was at the table helping the kids with homework. She walked in, tossed her designer bag onto the chair, the one I paid for, and paused, like she was expecting me to ask how her meeting went. I didn't. I just stood up, told the kids I'd be in my office if they needed anything, and walked out. The look on her face, priceless. Once I got to my office, I opened my laptop and started a new document. I titled it, Exit Strategy. Then I made a list of everything I needed to do to protect myself and the kids. First item, call a lawyer. And just like that, this became our new normal. No more small talk. No more checking in during the day. No more little favors. Dinner conversations were about the kids. I talked to them, laugh with them, but not with her. If she spoke to me directly, I'd answer, but briefly. How was your day? She'd ask. Fine. That's it. No details. Did you see that email from Emma's teacher? Yes. Already handled it. End of conversation. I started making my own plans on weekends. Sometimes I'd take the kids out without even telling her where we were going. She'd text asking where we were, and I'd wait an hour before replying with something short like, out with the kids, back later. I also started taking better care of myself. Over the years, Sarah had made little comments about how I'd let myself go after the kids were born. Never mind that I was the one waking up at 5 a.m. to get work done before they were up. The one making sure everyone had breakfast. The one keeping our lives running. But still, she wasn't completely wrong. I had neglected myself. So I changed that. I started going to the gym during lunch breaks, cleaned up my diet, got a proper haircut, bought clothes that actually fit. Over a couple of months, I lost about 30 pounds and put on some muscle. Nothing extreme, just taking care of myself again. For me, not for her. I also reconnected with friends I hadn't seen much in years. Met up with old college buddies for lunch. Joined a weekend basketball league. I started living like someone who actually had a life outside of being Sarah's husband and the twins' dad. The first Saturday, I took the kids out on my own. She was sitting on the couch when we got back. She was pretending to scroll on her phone, but I could tell she'd been watching those same videos. Stuff about setting boundaries with men or whatever. Where'd you go? She asked, trying to sound casual. Out, I said, dropping my keys. Kids wanted to do something, so we went. Her lips tightened. It would have been nice to know. As their mother, I should be informed about where my children are. I shrugged. Didn't think it mattered. You're usually too busy with your blog to come anyway. That's not fair, she said, sitting up straighter. My work is important too. Sure it is, I replied, not even arguing. Kids, go wash up before dinner. As they ran upstairs, she followed me into the kitchen. What's going on with you? You've been acting weird ever since our talk. Nothing's going on, I said, pulling out ingredients for dinner. Just being a co-parent, like you wanted. That's not what I meant, and you know it, she said, crossing her arms. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in days. What did you mean, Sarah? Because you're nothing more than a co-parent to me, sounds pretty clear. She let out a frustrated breath. I meant our relationship has evolved. That doesn't mean we can't still be partners in other ways. Right? I nodded. Partners, like roommates who share kids. Got it. That was the first crack in her perfect little setup. She thought she could emotionally check out of the marriage, treat me like an ATM and a babysitter, but still have access to the benefits of a husband whenever it suited her. She was starting to realize it doesn't work like that. Meanwhile, I had my first consultation with a lawyer. Of course, I didn't tell her. I just wanted to understand where I stood legally. To my surprise, the lawyer said I had a strong case for at least 50-50 custody. Maybe even more, given how involved I've been in the kids' lives. She told me to start documenting everything. Every school event I attended that Sarah skipped. Every doctor's appointment I handled. Everything. Every time I was the one helping with homework. So that's exactly what I started doing. I created a detailed log, dates, times, everything. I saved emails from teachers who reached out to me instead of Sarah, because they already knew I was the one who actually responded. I documented it all, just in case. I also started setting aside money in an account Sarah didn't know about. I wasn't hiding assets. Everything would be disclosed if things went to divorce. I just wanted to make sure I had something that was mine. The lawyer told me it was completely legal, as long as I wasn't using joint funds or hiding anything that counted as marital property. It took some time, but Sarah started noticing the shift. She'd try to talk to me about her day, or something deep she'd read online. I'd just nod, or give one-word replies. She started wearing more revealing outfits around the house. Too little, too late. I also noticed how she suddenly started paying attention to what I was doing. One time, I mentioned to the kids that I was thinking about taking them skiing in the winter. She immediately jumped in. That sounds fun. I've always wanted to learn how to ski. I just nodded and kept talking to Emma and Ethan, completely ignoring her attempt to include herself. About 6 weeks into this new dynamic, I was sitting on the couch reading when she came and sat down next to me, closer than she had in months. "You've lost weight," she said, looking me up and down. "Yep," I replied, not even glancing up from my book. "You look good," she added, her voice softening. "Really good. Thanks." Still didn't look up. "Tom," she said, placing her hand on my arm. "Can we talk? I feel like there's a wall between us lately." I finally looked at her. "What do you want to talk about?" "Us," she said, clearly relieved to have my attention. "I feel like you've completely withdrawn from me." "I'm just respecting the boundaries you set," I said calmly. "You made it clear what I am to you. I'm adjusting accordingly." "I think you misunderstood what I meant," she said quickly, starting to backtrack. "I never said I don't care about you or that I don't value our relationship." I closed my book. "Then what did you mean when you said I'm nothing more than a co-parent to you? What possible way was I supposed to take that?" She hesitated. "I was just trying to be honest about feeling disconnected. I didn't mean it had to stay that way forever." "Well, I've had time to think about it," I said, standing up. "And I realized you were right. We are just co-parents. And that's all we need to be, for the twins' sake." Then I walked away, leaving her sitting there. For the first time, she was the one watching me leave. A few nights later, she came home irritated after seeing one of her friends' posts about some romantic vacation. I was in the living room, reading again, honestly looking better than I had in years. She stood there for a moment, like she was waiting for me to acknowledge her. "You've been acting weird for weeks," she finally said. I looked up. "Weird how?" "I don't know, just different. Distant. It's like you're not even trying to make this relationship work." I closed my book. "I thought this is what you wanted." She blinked, like I just hit her. "What?" "You said we're just co-parents," I reminded her, my voice flat. "So that's what I'm doing. Parenting. Everything else is irrelevant, right? Isn't that what you and your empowerment group are always talking about? Being your authentic self?" She just stared at me, opened her mouth like she was about to say something, then stopped. That told me everything. She hadn't expected this. She thought I'd chase her, beg for her attention, keep trying to win her back while she kept treating me like crap. Instead, I gave her exactly what she asked for. And now she didn't know how to handle it. "This isn't what I wanted," she said finally, her voice quiet. "I wanted us to work on our relationship, not give up on it." "Funny way of showing it," I replied. "Telling someone they're nothing more than a co-parent doesn't exactly make them want to invest more emotionally." "I was frustrated," she said, sitting down across from me. "I felt like you weren't hearing me when I talked about feeling unfulfilled. And now I hear you loud and clear," I said. "Message received." She looked at me for a long moment. "So that's it? After 10 years of marriage, you're just checking out?" The irony was so thick, I almost laughed. I learned from the best. After that night, things changed again. She started paying closer attention to me, watching me, listening more carefully, trying to figure out what had changed. Sometimes she'd hesitate before speaking, like she was choosing her words more carefully than usual. It was obvious. She was waiting for me to crack, waiting for me to break this new routine. But I didn't. Instead, she started trying to get my attention in small ways, asking if I needed anything from the store, bringing up shows we used to watch together. Then she got more direct. She started wearing lingerie that had been sitting untouched in her drawer for years, started talking about how important male energy was in the house. A complete 180 from her usual men are the problem mindset. I also noticed she'd stopped posting those passive-aggressive quotes on social media, stuff about outgrowing relationships and knowing your worth. Funny how that works. One evening, after the kids were asleep, she cornered me in the kitchen while I was cleaning up. "You really don't care, do you?" she asked. "About what?" I said, putting the last dish in the rack. She let out a frustrated breath. "About any of this. About us." I looked at her and shrugged. "There is no us." Her jaw tightened. "So that's it? You're just fine with things being like this?" I dried my hands and looked her straight in the eyes. "No, but I've accepted it. You made it clear how you see me. I'm just doing the same." "That's not what I meant when I said that," she said quickly, getting defensive. I almost laughed. "Isn't it? You've spent years treating me like I'm nothing but a checkbook and an occasional babysitter. You and your friends sit around talking about how useless men are, while I'm the one doing everything to keep this family running." I shook my head. "Well, congratulations. You convinced me. We're just co-parents. That's all we'll ever be now." "Tom, please," she said, and I could see her eyes starting to fill with tears. "I made a mistake. I was just lashing out because I felt ignored." Ignored? That actually made me laugh. "Sarah, I've bent over backwards for you for years. I supported every career change, every hobby, every finding yourself phase. I've been the one keeping this family together while you were busy posting inspirational quotes on Instagram." I looked at her steadily. "So don't talk to me about feeling ignored." She wiped at her eyes. "I know I've made mistakes. We both have. But don't we owe it to ourselves and to the kids to try to fix this? The time to fix it was before you decided I was just a co-parent," I said. "You don't get to downgrade someone and then act surprised when they stop treating you like a priority." She looked like she wanted to argue, but couldn't, because she knew I was right. She had been the one to kill whatever we had. She had spent years convincing herself I was just a role in her life, something replaceable, something that didn't really matter. And now that I had stepped back, now that I'd emotionally checked out, she was finally understanding what that actually felt like. She thought I'd chase her, fight for her, try to earn back a place in a life she had already pushed me out of. But when I didn't, she was the one feeling the distance. Over the next few weeks, she tried harder. A lot harder. She started cooking my favorite meals, asking about my day, and actually listening this time, offering to handle the kids so I could have some time to myself. She suggested date nights, initiated physical contact. But it didn't matter. It was too late. I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. I couldn't forget how it felt when she so casually dismissed our entire relationship. Every time she tried to get close, I heard her words again, remembered her tone, the way she didn't even bother turning around when she told me I was nothing to her. The final straw came one night when I overheard her on the phone with one of her friends. "I don't know what to do," she was saying quietly. "He's completely different. It's like he flipped a switch." Pause. "No, that's the thing. He's not even angry. He's just gone. Emotionally gone." Another pause. "I know. I've tried everything." Of course I apologized. Well, I said I was frustrated and didn't mean it. "No, he's not buying it." She sighed. "I don't know what I'll do if he actually leaves. I mean, yeah, I said that stuff before, but I didn't actually want a divorce. I just wanted him to pay more attention to me." That told me everything. Her honesty hadn't been honesty at all. It was manipulation. She thought if she threatened my place in her life, I'd try harder. Do more. Fight to keep her. Instead, I called her bluff. And now she was panicking. I stepped away before she could see me. I didn't need to hear the rest. I already knew what I had to do. After 3 months of living like this, I decided it was time to make the final move. No drama. No big emotional scene. Just clarity. And the final mic drop. One night, after the kids were asleep, I sat across from Sarah at the kitchen table. A manila folder in front of me. "We need to talk," I said. She looked up from her phone, almost hopeful. "Yeah. I want a divorce." I expected something. Anger, resistance, tears, anything. Instead, I got silence. She just sat there staring at me, like she couldn't process what I'd said. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet. "Are you serious?" I nodded. Then I slid the folder across the table. "What's this?" she asked, opening it slowly. "Divorce papers. Already filled out. And a few other things you should know." Inside wasn't just the paperwork. There were account statements too. While she'd been busy finding herself, I'd been preparing. I had moved 75% of my recent bonuses into accounts she didn't know about. I documented every time she chose self-care over the kids. I had records of every school event I attended while she was off at retreats. And most importantly, there was a letter from my lawyer. It explained that based on my income and the custody arrangement I was proposing with me having primary custody, she would likely be paying me child support. Not the other way around. Her face went completely pale. "You can't be serious. The courts always favor the mother." "Not when the mother hasn't been present," I said calmly. "I've been documenting everything for months." I looked straight at her. "The kids' teachers know me, not you. I'm the one taking them to doctor's appointments. I'm the one helping with homework. You've been too busy with your blog and your journey to actually be there." I pulled out my phone and showed her my calendar. Every school event, every doctor's visit, every parent-teacher conference for the past 6 months. All logged. Who attended, who didn't. The custody evaluator is going to look at this and see exactly who's been raising these kids, I said. "And it's not you." "But I need time," she stammered. "My blog is about to take off. My life coach says I'm close to a breakthrough." "Yeah," I said. "You've been saying that for 3 years." I leaned forward slightly. "Meanwhile, I've been promoted twice and saved enough to put the kids through college. What exactly have you contributed, besides Instagram posts about how oppressed you are?" Her eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. Not the fake kind she used when she wanted something. "Tom, please, we can fix this." I didn't mean what I said that night. I was just frustrated. I leaned back in my chair. "Why now? Because you're finally realizing you might lose your meal ticket?" "It's not about the money," she said quickly. "I love you. I've always loved you." That almost made me laugh. "You haven't looked at me with anything but contempt for years. The moment I stopped caring, now suddenly you love me?" "Please, Tom, think about the kids," she said. "They need both of us together. They need parents who respect each other." I corrected her. "And you've made it very clear you don't respect me." I paused. "You said I'm just a co-parent. So that's what we'll be. Co-parents separately." "I'll fight this," she said, her tone shifting from pleading to threatening. "I'll get a lawyer. I'll tell them you've been planning this for months. Hiding money." "Go ahead," I cut in. "Everything I've done is legal. I've spoken to 3 different lawyers to make sure of it." Then I tapped my phone, which had been sitting on the table the whole time. "And just so you know, I recorded that." She froze. "One-party consent state," I said. "Threatening to make false claims during a divorce doesn't look great in court." Her face crumpled. She knew. She was beaten. The next few days were, honestly, kind of pathetic. She tried everything. Crying. Begging. Suddenly she was the perfect wife. Cooking dinner. Asking about my day. Trying to get me back into our bed. I'd been sleeping in the guest room for weeks. She even told her feminist friends to go screw themselves when they started their usual anti-men rants. One of them even called me asking if I'd done something to her, because Sarah had defended me so aggressively. The final blow came when I took the kids to meet with a real estate agent about selling the house. Sarah wasn't included. When she found out, she completely lost it. "You can't sell our house without me," she screamed. "Actually, I can," I said calmly. "Check the deed. It's in my name." She froze. "Your credit wasn't good enough to be on the mortgage. Remember? All those maxed-out credit cards for self-care?" I showed her the deed. Her name wasn't on it. We had talked about adding her later, once she fixed her credit. But she never did. She just never handled it. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. "What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go?" I just shrugged. "Not my problem anymore," I said. "We're just co-parents, remember? And barely even that, considering how little parenting you actually do." A week later, she showed up at my office. She begged me to reconsider. Said she'd do anything, couples therapy, quit her blog, get a real job, whatever I wanted. "It's too late," I told her. "You decided I wasn't worth loving years ago. You just didn't expect me to eventually agree with you." The divorce moved quickly. Sarah didn't fight it. She couldn't afford a lawyer who could go up against mine, and she knew the evidence wasn't on her side. The judge gave me primary physical custody. She got every other weekend, plus one dinner visit during the week. The look on her face when the judge announced it, I'll never forget it. Pure shock. She had been so convinced that just being the mother meant she'd automatically get the kids, no matter how involved she actually was. Reality hit her hard. As for the house, it sold for more than I expected. I used my share to buy a better place closer to the kids' school. 3 bedrooms, big backyard, a proper office so I could work from home sometimes and be around more for the twins. Sarah ended up in a small 1-bedroom apartment across town. She had to get a real job for the first time in years. Some entry-level admin role that barely covered her rent. Her blog? Still just a hobby. Still barely read by anyone. The first time she dropped the kids off after one of her weekends, I caught her looking around my new house. There was something in her eyes. Envy. It was everything she used to talk about wanting. Open layout, modern kitchen, all of it. But it wasn't hers anymore. "The kids seem to like it here," she said, trying to sound casual. "They do," I said. "They've got their own rooms. There's a park down the street." She nodded, shifting awkwardly. "Listen, Tom, I've been thinking a lot about everything. I made a huge mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. I took you for granted, and I'm paying for it every day." I just looked at her. "Yes, you are." She swallowed. "Is there any chance at all, we could try again? For the kids? For us?" Her eyes were pleading. I shook my head. "There is no us, Sarah. Remember? We're just co-parents now. That's all we'll ever be." The words hit her the same way they had hit me months earlier. I watched the hope drain from her face, replaced by the realization that she had done this to herself. "I'll pick them up Wednesday for dinner," she said finally, her voice hollow. 6 p.m., I replied. "Don't be late." I closed the door. Then I turned back to my kids. My home. My life. A life that was finally mine again. Update. It's been 2 years since the divorce. I'm in a good place now. The kids are doing great, they're 11 now. Doing well in school, active in sports and other activities. I've been dating a pediatric nurse I met at one of Ethan's doctor appointments. She's everything Sarah wasn't. Supportive, present, actually interested in me, and in the kids. Sarah, last I heard, had to move into an even smaller apartment. Her blog quietly died. And those feminist friends she used to spend all her time with? They disappeared once she couldn't afford brunches and workshops anymore. She still calls me sometimes, usually after a bad date or a rough day, crying, saying she made the biggest mistake of her life. And I just tell her, "I know, but we're just co-parents now. That's all we'll ever be." The kids still see her every other weekend, but even they've started to notice the difference. "Mom's always on her phone when we're there," Emma told me once. "It's not like here, where we actually do stuff together. That's the real win for me." Not the house. Not the money. Not even seeing Sarah face the consequences of her choices. Just knowing my kids see and feel the difference. They have a parent who's actually present, who's involved, who shows up. So yeah, that's my story. If you're in a situation where you're being taken for granted, where you're treated like you're just a convenience in someone else's life, understand this. You deserve better. You deserve to be valued. And sometimes, the only way to show someone your worth is to remove yourself completely. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the support. To answer the most common questions. Yes, everything was done legally. If you're in a similar situation, get a good lawyer and document everything. No, I don't feel bad for her. She made her choices. Yes, the kids are doing great. They need stability and attention, not Instagram perfect family photos. Edit 2. For those asking about the financial side, talk to a financial advisor as soon as you think things might go south. There are legal ways to protect yourself that aren't considered hiding assets. Don't wait until it's too late. Edit 3. No, I'm not bitter. I've moved on. Writing all this out was actually kind of therapeutic. And yes, Jessica, the nurse I'm dating, knows everything.